Hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. Now, if you are watching this live or if you are watching it on replay, feel free to say hello in the chat. Maybe let me know where you're from. So today I just kind of wanted to pop in because I think that a lot of us have been feeling overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and really feeling the world's chaos, right? And how it tends to kind of mess with our mental health a little bit. I know that I've noticed myself, I was starting to get a little stressy depressy. And so I kind of just wanted to pop on and let you guys know that you're not alone. And I wanted to give you guys four of the kind of powerful energy rules or shifts that I try to live by to the best of my ability when things get really dark, right? So the purpose of this is really to protect your peace, reclaim your mental clarity, and kind of break past the fear frequency. So if you are here, oh, there's people here. I can see that. Thank you so much for liking this video. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe. My name is Mandy. I am a spiritual self-help author. Those are my books over there. But first I wanted to kind of open the floor and ask you guys, like, how have you guys been feeling lately? How have things been going for you? What has the energy been like? We just had a new moon. Things have been kind of a roller coaster energetically, I would say. I've been struggling with sleeping, things like that. So in today's video, I wanted to talk just a little bit about some kind of survival skills, tools, like shifts you can make in your life that are really practical for sensitive souls, witches, empaths, like anybody who's really trying to stay grounded in a world that can feel like it's constantly on fire, you guys. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're feeling burnt out, anxious, numb, or overstimulated, this is for you. Now, I will say some of the things I'm going to say in here are paradoxically unpopular opinions in this day and age, and we'll talk about that a little bit. So there might be some things I say that, you might disagree with or might be triggering for you. But this is kind of the way that I see things. This is kind of the world that I live in, my worldview, my belief systems, things that have really been helpful for me. Your mileage may vary. But I really wanted to let you guys know that your nervous system, like how grounded, how stable you feel, even when everything out there is like fucking insane, it matters. Like it matters not only on an individual level, but it matters in a bigger scheme, a bigger picture of thing. Your clarity matters, your mental health matters, your wellness matters. And this isn't like, sometimes you'll see these like memes and things that are like, that's hyper individualism and shit like that. Absolutely fucking not. I'm sorry. You matter. Like nothing is going to change my mind about that. Your experience of life, and life is an experiential journey, matters. And your energetic hygiene, which is what we're going to talk about today a little bit, is like how to kind of have some energetic hygiene for when it feels like the world is a fucking mess. And honestly, when is it not? So it's not really optional. These are very, very important things. So in the chat, I'm just noticing, roller coaster here for sure. Simultaneously exhausted and fidgety, restless. Oh, so relatable. Hello to Heidi. So yeah, this is kind of like where we're at. Now I wanted to give you guys a little bit of context just to begin with. And some of you that are here definitely know my story, but if people are popping in that don't know me, that are unfamiliar with my work or unfamiliar with me, you might not know this, but I am a mental health survivor, right? And so I'm an author now, and I work with people now, but this was not always my reality. Okay. So I, am a survivor of mental health issues since childhood. So it took me far too long to learn energetic boundaries. It took me far too long to learn how to have energetic hygiene, and not really only let my own mental health and my own stuff kind of drag me into a pit that is really, really hard to get out of, but also like people around me, the world at large, etc. So the way that I see things is that we all as individuals, and we've talked about this in my energy readings before. So if you're familiar with those, this is going to be old news to you, or if you're in the Feral Self-Care Collective. But I think that I really ascribe to that belief that, the collective consciousness is like the ocean and we are individual raindrops. It's like I view it as a water cycle, right? So it matters how we are doing individually. That matters for the collective, just like it matters how the collective really impacts us on an individual level. Now, we live in times right now where it's really hard to hold ourselves stable and hold our boundaries against like a lot of the larger what's going on out there, obviously because of the nature of information transmission. So some of you guys have saw my Matrix to Magic class that was like recorded on a potato that is on this channel. But really we have to, just at a baseline, start in the individual level and start with the locus of control that is the closest for us, in order for us to kind of just like do our part. That's not to say that we can't advocate for the collective or do anything like that. It's just to say a lot of people get very overwhelmed and burnt out trying to fix all these big, seemingly unfixable things that are out there, when really it's like, what are the things closest to you? So when I do one-to-one work with people, we often talk about like this locus of control and how the proximity it is to you, right? So it's really hard to feel like we can't fix all these unfixable things when there's things in our lives that are actually within our proximity, that we are bypassing and neglecting to kind of pay attention to. So my own experience with mental health has been that I really struggled and suffered so much for so many years, y'all, that now I am absolutely borderline fucking militant when it comes to really trying to right the ship when I can feel myself getting to a dark place. So if you are watching this, pop it in the chat if that's something that you can relate to in your experience. I mean, I've had experience being hospitalized. I've had experience where really I didn't think I was going to be able to do or achieve anything in my life because I really held this worldview and this self-concept and this belief that because I was so profoundly mentally ill that it was like anything that was going to be good, anything that was going to be stable, or anything that was going to require me to have any level of confidence or whatever was going to be completely outside of my reach because it just felt like it was too far away. So lately I started to notice, even with the boundaries that I have up, I started to notice that I was slipping to a place that felt dangerous for me. Again, I've simply worked too hard to crawl out of those holes to really allow myself to go back to those places. And so I wanted to share 4 of the things that I do to kind of like manage my mental health and my wellness when I start to notice myself slipping. If you're a person who has dealt with mental health issues, you will likely know that it's not a one and done thing. It's not like you can learn how to just like, oh, I'm like cured. I don't have mental health issues anymore. Like that's just not how it works. You can better learn to cope. You can learn to navigate and work with your shadow, and you can learn how to hold up your energetic boundaries and kind of have your spiritual practices do some of the heavy lifting there. But it's not like it's, oh, well, I was mentally ill and now I'm fixed. Like if only it could be that way. But unfortunately it's not. So if you are a person who's experienced that, you'll probably know that feeling of going, okay, I really need to do something about this and work on this. So the first tip that I'm going to give you, and the first thing, these are all commitments that I've recently made to myself. I'm about a week in right now, and I've done the beginning commitment of that I want to do it for 2 weeks, but every single time I have undertaken this, it always ends up going for much longer. Last time I undertook these commitments, it actually lasted for about 6 months, which was crazy. But the first one is I've made a commitment to myself to limit depressants. So my consumption of depressants in terms of, I live in Canada and there are certain smokables that are legal here that I'm actually going to be limiting because it is a depressant on your system. And it's not like I don't enjoy it, and it's not like it's not relaxing, and it's not like it doesn't help in some ways, but I am in a state where I can recognize that I need all the help I can get. It's all hands on deck when it comes to trying to right the ship of my mental health and how I'm feeling. Again, life is an experiential journey. And so I would like the experience of it to feel as good as possible. Now, does trying to limit depressants like alcohol, cannabis, or I don't even know if you can say that on YouTube, or should I say schmammerish, or, highly processed food. I'm trying to like stay away from sugar and like junk and that sort of thing. that sort of stuff, which is actually really hard. And it is hard to kind of break those habits, break those addictions. But I will say that I just think that it's important to do that, because it can be really easy to fall into these habits that are actually, they can feel temporarily good, and they can kind of temporarily relieve a little bit of the symptoms. I like to affectionately refer to it as eating my feelings, and things like that. But I just am not in a space where I want to numb out at all, because I really need to have my abilities about me, my cognitive abilities, so that I can really do the work that I need to do to kind of turn things around. So that is the first thing. Now, the second thing, and it's something we've talked about on this channel before, and I covered this a little bit quickly on a reel on Instagram and TikTok, is that I am really trying to watch my mouth. So those of you that have read my book, Witchcraft Therapy, will know that there's a chapter in there on watching your mouth, watching how much you shit talk, right? I do believe that in some way we do manifest, or manifest sounds a little more woo for what it actually is, but we are actually training our minds and our mindsets. We're training our worldview with the things that we are speaking, which the things that we are amplifying with our words. So every time we talk about things, say things, we're processing it on our brain level. We're formulating the words, we're having the thought, then we're, communicating that to our mouth. And if we speak it aloud, then we're processing it through our ears. So there's a lot of different parts of our brains that come online and start working together, that basically creates a situation where we are really fully entrenching in our brains the thing that we are saying. Now, is this to say that we should ignore the things that feel shitty, or the shitty elements of life? Is like bypassing that? That's not what this is at all. But when it comes to complaining, when it comes to talking nonstop about all the things that are wrong, that can be really detrimental for your mental health, because it can really keep you rooted in a space of that is what you are actively choosing to view. Now, just by way of our brain, we have something called negativity bias, which means that our brains naturally, just as a survival mechanism from, way back when we were, our lifestyle was a lot different than it is now, we are hardwired to notice threats. We are hardwired to notice the negative things and the things that could go wrong. Now, this is kind of hijacked in the modern context. And so we kind of have to bring a little more consciousness and intentionality when it comes to balancing that out with trying to notice the things that are going well. Now, your mileage may vary, but for me personally, I am a fucking heavy complainer. So I am like the type of person that will tend to verbally process what I'm going through as a way of really just trying to work through it. I'm definitely a verbal processor. And so I've noticed that my capacity to complain is like, whoo, off the charts. And if I don't rein that shit in, it really does make all of those problems, all of those issues a lot worse, because it's kind of like every single day I'm just talking about what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, right? So, I think we've talked about this in one of my last videos, but people say like worrying is worshiping the problem. And I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think complaining is worshiping the problem, because you're essentially giving yourself a running commentary or sermon of everything that is not going right. And I promise you, those things that are not going right are still going to continue to not go right, whether or not you're airing them out or not. Again, your mileage may vary. If you're the type of person that is just kind of coming online and learning how to express yourself and express the things that are bothersome to you, then maybe this wouldn't be the best tip for you. But for those of us who are verbal processors and really can get stuck in a habit, really bad habit of complaining, this is one thing you might want to watch and might want to notice. So if we're just constantly talking about all the things that are wrong, if we're constantly talking about all the bad feelings we're having, it's not like we have to ignore that we're having those feelings, but we need to try and, again, bring some intentionality and some consciousness to balancing it out. I saw a really interesting quote the other day that was talking about gratitude. And I mean, like when people are like gratitude journaling, journaling. I can't, for some reason, I think because of the fact that that was like co-opted by so much of the like curated Instagram self-care world. Even though I know that it's helpful, and even though I understand the research and the psychology that backs it, and the fact that this is all proven that it is good for you, when I just hear the word for some reason, it's like an immediate turn off. I'm just like, oh, I can't. But this quote that I saw was talking about how appreciation, like when you think of, say, a car, appreciation is something gaining value, right? And so if we're trying to gain value in our experience of life and the things that are happening to us, it can be really helpful to try, even though it's hard. I like doing the bare minimum gratitude approach where you're like, I'm really upset because everything's going bad. And like, why should I be grateful for these like bare minimum things I have? And it's like, well, because there's so much that could be going wrong. There's so much inequity in the world. Like we really do need to actually be intentional about paying attention to the things that are going right. So does anybody have any thoughts about that? If you do, feel free to pop it in the chat. I love talking to you guys. And if you are new here, feel free, please like this video. It's so helpful for me, and also to follow this channel if you're into all things psychospiritual and wellness witchery. So yes, limiting complaining is something I occasionally I catch myself and I'm like, girl, shut the fuck up. Like I'll be complaining about this isn't going right, that's not going right. Of course, we all have a million reasons to be upset. You know, the internet itself seems to, the content cycle seems to be very much based on, there's a lot of like pointing out red flags. Like this is, you know, this many red flags to look out for in this. And like, this is all the shit that's going wrong. And I'm definitely, I have become through my mental health journey and trying to turn around depression and things like that. I've become the kind of person that's like, give me 3 solutions or get the fuck out of my office because I just can't, you know, I just think it's so lazy and unimaginative to just be pointing out problems all the time. You know what I mean? We all know they're there. It's like the elephant in the room. Like, I'm sorry, the room fucking stinks. It's like a rank, heavy fart because it's just there. We all know it's there, right? And it doesn't mean we have to ignore it, but do we have to create content and be financially incentivized to just talk about it all the fucking time? I disagree, right? I think our energy could be spent way better. So someone in the chat is saying I have to try and limit my complaining as well. I'm glad it's not just me because yeah, your girl will go off. Like I really need to rein it in. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is the one that can be kind of slightly seen as controversial, but I mean, it just is what it is really being very keenly aware of what you are feeding into your attention. So, we have absolutely no energetic boundaries. We have absolutely no attentional boundaries built into the systems in these apps that we use, in social media, in the internet in general, and the fucking news. Don't get me started on that. And really, there just is no boundaries. So you guys have heard me talk about this before, but I'm 41. So when I was young, it was like you'd have to watch the news. Like you'd get a newspaper or you watch the news. There was like 5 o'clock news and there was like this time news. Now there's like constant death tickers and trackers and like this crazy stuff that is going on. And we all are like essentially, there's nothing to really cut us off from that except for ourselves. And I believe that it is an act of self-love. And I think it's an act of love for the collective in general, to really put some limitations on that depending on how it's like affecting you. So I'm the type that I don't intentionally go looking for news unless I'm really, again, mentally stable for that because of my mental health history. It's just not worth it to me to be watching the world burn in real time. I don't think that's virtuous. A lot of people seem to think that it's the virtuous thing to do. I don't agree with that whatsoever because I think that the way that how energetically stable I am, how mentally healthy I am affects how I parent. It affects how I am as a partner. It affects how I am as a community member. It affects how I am, when you think of things like learned helplessness. And so I think it's actually really fucking important to give yourself those boundaries because I think the stakes are really fucking high. Like I just do. And again, because our brains are hardwired to notice and to really sink into those negative aspects, we have to be intentional. Do you know that these platforms, not YouTube here, well, probably them as well, but like if you look at like Meta platforms, if you look at a lot of these platforms, or even, you know, accounts that have turned towards like just nonstop doom worship 24 hours a day, this is financially incentivized. There are vultures making a profit off the virtue of wanting to be up to date and knowing what's going on. Like I said, I'm from a generation where people were able to pop in and check in when they felt stable to do so a couple times a day. And now this is something that is not built into the systems. We have to actually do that as an act of self-care for ourselves. So does that sound like something that, you know, I feel free to disagree with me here, but it's definitely one of the hills I will die on. And it's why I don't talk about politics or anything like that on my platform, regardless of who tries to shame, bully me or whatever. Because again, I don't see the purpose in pointing out all the things that are wrong. I think we can all see them, right? And so I don't have a solution. And so my part of the solution for myself is really just trying to get my own energy as stable as I can, get myself as right as I can, and feel as empowered as I can, so that if there is time to take action, if I am going to advocate any of these things that happen offline, I will feel solid and empowered to do so, rather than be in a perpetual state of consumption. And I just don't believe that we're meant to consume doom as much as we are. That's not to say to stay ignorant or anything like that, but yeah, that's how I see it, and it's been really helpful for me. Now, the problem with that is that because that is somewhat an unpopular opinion this day and age, I actually get nonstop news all day, every day, from meme accounts, from, you know, mental health accounts, from these accounts, from that accounts. And it can be really, really hard, because I will say I'm not always mentally or emotionally equipped to deal with it. So really limiting kind of the how much you're letting yourself energetically get jerked around by a system that profits off of you feeling disempowered. If we are feeling helpless, lost, whatever, then we're just consuming, we're just kind of mindless, we feel like we don't have any power. And I really just don't think that that's very helpful for anybody, and I don't think it helps people take the action that people should be taking this day and age. So that is another one. Now, so the last one that is really important and helpful for me personally is trying to really get right with my own practices. So whether it's your spiritual practice, whether it's your, you know, exercising, whether it's doing your art, whether it's writing, whether it's, you know, playing with your kids, like really getting right in, you know, boots on the ground, experiencing your life. You know, it can be really easy to fall into a state of functional freeze, where it's like we're here, we're going through the motions, we're putting in, like, you know, we're doing the things, but it's not actually, it's not like we're actively engaged in doing it. It's not like we're actually benefiting from what is happening. We're kind of just really disembodied and in a state of like disconnection. Now, I don't think that really helps anything or anybody. And I certainly don't think it helps us to be living in an intentional way, which is what I think that we have to do, especially if you're trying to crawl out of a little bit of a depression hole, which is kind of where I found myself, right? So, so being really intentional with actually actively engaging in your life, doing things that feel good for you to be doing. You know, there's so much in life that we cannot control. There's so much out there that we can't control. And I think it's really a powerful act of like energetic sovereignty to be able to recognize your life as a experience, a primal felt experience, and actually engage with it as such. There's something really beautiful about putting your toes in the sand. There's something really beautiful about putting your hands in, you know, a lake or in a creek or something like that, and really just getting back to basics and getting back to like this moment right here, right now, away from all the noise of all the other shit that is constantly vying for our attention. Again, when it comes to like the news, I don't know if you guys notice, I mean, probably because I'm a little neurospicy, but like the patterns are patterning, right? There's always this like, oh my God, everything is crazy. And then this little bit of ease up, like, well, maybe it's a little bit okay, but oh my God, it's crazy again. And like, it's not going to stop. Right. And so we all have to be able to stay informed and stay tapped into some degree, but while also living our lives, you know? And so it's really important to be able to do that, because I think that how we show up for our children, I think how we show up for our community, I think how we show up in terms of our action, with if it's aligning with our values, the actual things we're doing in the world, the things we're advocating for, the things we're speaking on, the work that we're doing, like the kind of frequency or whatever the fuck you want to call it that we're putting out into the world, there has to be a level of intentionality there that I think is really bolstered by actively engaging with your life, like I try not to get too caught up in the fear frequency, because at the end of the day, if I knew something was bad was going to happen, how would I want to be spending my time? I would want to be doing art. I would want to be hugging my family. I would want to be acting in love. I would want to be doing that sort of thing. And I know that sounds kind of like trite and annoying and obnoxious, but like that really just is what it is. Like we do only live once. And as somebody, again, who has experienced being a survivor of mental health issues, I know what it's like to live with doom in my throat 24/7. I know what it's like to think that everything is going to be awful all the time. And I know that my life now, compared to with the worldview and the beliefs I have now and the habits compared to what they were then, this is a much better life experience. And life is a limited time experience. So you might as well experience it. Just popping into the chat here to see it. So yes, definitely been seeing patterns. Yes, the patterns are patterning, and there's again a level of kind of not saying there aren't very real things happening, but there is a pattern of, when you think about news companies and things like that, the fact that they are financially incentivized by way of your attention and by way of selling ads and by a way of, cost for clicks. What happens is that the more emotionally unstable you can keep people, and the more like really hanging on, and the more you can hijack their attention for profit, it really makes sense to kind of eat out news the way that they do. So I would highly recommend, there's something called the Good News Network, which I absolutely love. There's always beautiful, amazing things happening in the world aside from all the doom. There are beautiful people doing beautiful things. There are people falling in love. There are babies being born. There are people realizing their biggest dreams. And I think that, that deserves some attention as well, whether or not our brains will naturally gravitate towards that through attention bias. So if you are here, feel free to pop in the chat how you've been feeling lately and how you've been coping lately. Also, please like this video. It helps this channel so much, my poor little baby channel, because I would love to hear from you guys what your coping strategies are, how you guys are dealing. So now when it comes to that experiential dimension of life, and like the really diving into your self-care practices and diving into the things that you're doing and doing things that light you up and make you feel happy, make you feel safe, make you feel connected to yourself. In this way, I'm actually really lucky that I run like a 3-month program called the Feral Self-Care Collective, and we have like 12 weeks of weekly actionable tools, practices, and experience. The link to that is down below. But the cool thing for me is it's so easy for me with my mental health history and everything to just be like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. And I've experienced firsthand the fact that when you really do pay attention to that shit, it's helpful. But I still have this tendency to really put myself last and be like, it's not that important. It's not that important. Or I put it off till later, because when you're in a state of like functional freeze, doing anything that's going to help you get ahead of it, or anything that is just for you, it can feel very selfish to do that. It can feel very naive to do that. And it can bring up a lot of our internalized programming when it comes to taking care of ourselves and our self-care. So the lucky thing for me is, as the facilitator of that program, I am literally obligated to do it. And so I've done 2 seasons so far. So that is 6 months. I've done 6 months of weekly actionable tools, practices, and experiences, either facilitating it for the group or hosting the guest speakers that come in for us. And it has actually moved the needle for me quite a lot. So just 60 to 90 minutes per week, and I've been feeling a lot better. Now, my next season starts on July 7th. Again, if you want in, the link is right there. But it's funny because the summer is here, and I kind of am like, oh, like, should I be like, am I going to have time? Am I going to want to do it? And it's so funny because now I can see that as a self-sabotage mechanism, right? As my internalized programming going like, oh no, you don't want to like commit to anything. Like, you don't want to have this self-care stuff, because on some level I have, like most of us, bought into some bullshit that, like, with everything going on in the world, or with everything going on in life, that like it's not that important, or whatever. So I will say it's funny because, marketing these things, like marketing 4 times a year, has really been something on my nervous system, I will say. But like, the thing is, I'm wholly obsessed with it, because I know no matter what's happening in the world, and there's been times I've just been bawling my eyes out, and I'm like, I can't fucking do it. I can't do anything. Like, I just can't do any of it anymore. But I know okay, on this night, I have to go in and facilitate a session for this. And then it's like, I always end up feeling better after. So that's another way that I just want to highlight the importance of actually being consistent and taking care of yourself, even when it doesn't feel like the right thing to do, even when it feels frivolous to do so. Um, Again, we've bought into some bullshit collectively when it comes to our self-care, when it comes to doing things that are just for us to feel spiritually tapped in, when it comes for us to feel connected, when it comes to us getting in touch with ourselves and all of that. It can feel like, there's always going to be 500 excuses to put that stuff off or not do it. But I can say from personal experience, as having to do it, that it really can make a really big difference. So if you're interested in joining the collective, you can do that. The link is below. I'm going to be going live on Instagram with one of the guest speakers. We have 6 guest speakers each season. So I'm going to be doing that at 3. It's 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time now. I'm going to be doing that on Instagram Live at 3 today, I believe. So yeah, those are like the 4 things that I've committed to. So last week I made this commitment because I had, if you've experienced like the real depths of mental health issues, and like people like to talk about mental health issues and depression, like it's this it's kind of like when I had postpartum depression too. You notice people are like, oh, like the baby blues, or like, oh, she's a sad mom. But when it comes to the uglier side of mental health issues, and if you've struggled with severe mental health issues like I have, then you will know this. When it comes to the uglier side of mental health issues, right? When people are lashing out at their friends, when people are not behaving in ways that are aligned with their values, when people are really slipping, I've had experience with psychosis and things like that. It's the stakes become so high that if you notice yourself slipping, like I started to notice myself slipping, I have zero fucking patience for letting that slide happen. And so the way that I have done it was last week, and I said, okay, I'm going to make these commitments to myself. So limiting my depressants. So it's been really sad because it's summer and I just want to have a gin and tonic so bad. But like, no, I'm limiting my depressants as an act of self-care for myself. I'm limiting my complaining, which is like really a work in progress. I would love to say I'm 100% good at it, but I'm catching myself all the time. And I'm like, girl, shut the fuck up. Like, you wake up every day in a house full of people that love you. You're safe. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, and not to bypass my emotions, but number 3, limiting news intake to the best of my ability. Limiting the amount of things I'm following that make me feel bad, or that are like, you should be doing this and people should be doing this. Like trying to cut down on that noise a little bit and really coming back to the center and going, what are my values? What are my belief systems? And what is the impact I want to make through my work, through my actions, through my attention, like all of that sort of thing. Really paying attention to what you are paying attention to, because again, corporations, entities, all sorts of things are making bank off of us being disempowered and passively consuming. I wish that wasn't the case, but it is. Feels like this is an like energetic warfare. That's always how I feel when I dip into the news or the internet or anything. And it's crazy that people are getting clout and money and all of that sort of stuff off of it. But this is where we are. And then number 4 is really getting back to basics when it comes to your experience of life and engaging with your life in an experiential way. Prioritizing yourself, prioritizing your play, prioritizing your spiritual self-care, prioritizing your practices, prioritizing the things that make you feel good, really breaking through that programming. I can't believe it's 2025 and we still have the collective, we're under this collective spell that self-care is selfish. Like, it's wild to me. We all know that with our logical minds that it's not, but we all live on this a subconscious level where we have been like gradually and perpetually programmed to think that that's the way things are and to see them in that way. It's so crazy. And yet here we are. So those are the 4 commitments I've made to myself. I'm about a week in and I am definitely feeling much better. So if anybody else wants to make this commitment with me, there it is. You feel free to pop in the chat how you are feeling if you're watching this live or on replay. Again, liking this video and subscribing subscribing to this channel is so helpful for me, especially if you're into all things kind of chaos, witchery, or, psycho spiritual wellness. And if you guys want a free toolkit with like 3 quickie ritual practices and a guided meditation, there is a link to my freebie below. It's called the Feral Self-Care Toolkit. And again, if you want 12 weeks of actionable tools, practices, and experiences, the link to the Feral Self-Care Collective is below. We start on July 7th, you guys. We have sessions. This one I'm going to be hosting like a rage ritual. I'm going to be hosting a hemispheric painting, sigil crafting session. And then we have 6 guest speakers. So we have someone coming in teaching us how to open and access the Akashic records. We have somebody coming in to teach us about psychic divination. We have somebody come in to do like a mythical animal, like animist poetry session with us. We have working with the archetypes. We have elemental fitness. There's so many really fucking cool things that are happening. We have an artist coming in to teach us junk journaling for creativity and authenticity. And yeah, I'm going to be doing a session on color healing, like energy work, color healing. And then, yeah, there's 12 weeks, guys, 12 sessions, like getting 12 classes for the price of like one. It's insane. So make sure you sign up for that because time is running out. So those are my tips. And I hope everybody is feeling, getting through these hard times. It is not selfish to take care of your self-care. It is not, I think it's one of the best, most loving acts for the collective to take care of your energetic wellness, to try and have those boundaries, because I think when we feel more empowered, we are more empowered to do bigger, better, more impactful things in the world. So until next time, guys, I love you all and I hope you have a great day. Bye.